Elves remain youthful after age 20. All elves have a hard lifespan of 500 years before they return to the aether. You've been adventuring with an elf and fallen in love. Under the moonlight, she confesses to you that it's her 499th birthday and this life of adventure has been her last hurrah. A silver arrow whistled past my ear and buried itself in the wyvern's eye. The creature shrieked and flew into a rage, hitting the walls of the rocky canyon wildly before collapsing right in front of me. I turned around to see Lyra behind me with her bow still raised. Her silver hair was flowing in the wind like she was some majestic angel. Even covered in grime and wyvern blood, she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "Too slow, Darian," she said, jokingly, giving me a wink as she lowered her bow. "You all right?" I nodded, wincing as I touched the fresh gashes that ran down my chest. "I'll live." "Yeah, thanks to me," Lyra interrupted, skipping towards me. She brushed her fingers down my wounds, her touch seemed to make the burning pain feel better with an instant. Her hands began to glow an eerie blue, it was her healing magic, then pulled a small vial from her belt pouch. "This will help with the pain and prevent infection. Hold still." The liquid felt as cold as the Dragon Mountains as she applied it. I watched her work, marveling at the steadiness of her hands, the focus in her storm-gray eyes. After 13 years of adventuring together, you'd think I'd be used to her competence. But every time I looked at Lyra I found a new reason to keep my eyes on her. "Oh Darian, what are you gonna do when I'm gone?" Lyra said with a sigh, then suddenly she went quiet. "What do you mean?" I asked. "And don't say nothing. I know you better than that." "Oh, it's nothing, I promise," Lyra said, backing away from me just a little joke. She was quiet for a long moment again, her eyes were fixed on the horizon where the sun was now sinking. "Let's make camp," she said finally. "There's something I need to tell you." We found a sheltered spot near a stream, far enough from the wyvern's corpses to avoid attracting scavengers. We did the same routine we had done for the last 13 years, I gathered wood for a fire and Lyra disappeared into the forest for a few minutes before returning with a couple of rabbits for our dinner. The silence felt weird, usually our dinners were filled with laughter and we would always end it with me playing my lute and Lyra singing a beautiful melody by the fire, but tonight it was eerily quiet. The whole time Lyra stared into the flames as she ate, her eyes were as bright as ever but they seemed dark somehow. "Darian," she said at last, her voice felt weak. "Tomorrow is my birthday." In all our time together, I'd never known Lyra to care about such things. Elves, with their long lifespans, rarely bothered to mark the passing of individual years, they considered it a trivial matter reserved for dwarves and humans. "Well, happy birthday then," I said, jumping up. "How many candles should I be putting on your cake? 100? 200? Before she could open her mouth I began talking again. "Oh no, I shouldn't ask a woman that, for you it's definitely only 20 candles, you don't look a year over 20. Lyra didn't smile. 500. I knew exactly what it meant, it was all coming to an end. She'd always seemed so vital, so alive. The idea of her having an expiration date was unthinkable. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, as I stared at the fire cast a bright light on the right half of her face. Lyra shrugged, still gazing far into the crackling fire. "I didn't want it to change anything. This adventure, these past years with you. It's been my last hurrah." "All this time," I said, "you weren't even planning on saying goodbye?" Lyra nodded, finally looking to face me. In the light, I could see the shimmer of tears running down her pale skin. "I've lived a long life, Darian. I've seen empires rise and fall, I've watched old forests grow from saplings. But these last years with you, they've been the best. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I felt my throat tighten. I wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but all I could manage was one. She reached out, her fingers brushed against my cheek. Her touch was as cool as always, it felt like jumping into a cool creek in the middle of summer. "Because I'm selfish, Darian. I wanted every moment with you untainted by this." She gestured vaguely at herself. "I didn't want to see pity in your eyes. Or worse, for you to pull away." I caught her hand in mine, pressing it more firmly against my face. "Pull away? Lyra, I..." But she pressed a finger to my lips, silencing me. "Please, let me finish. I need to say this while I still can." Lyra took a deep breath, but her eyes never left mine. 500 years is a long time, Darian. I've seen so much, done so much. But I had not truly lived until I had found you." She paused, a sad smile playing on her lips. "I know it's not fair. To you or to me. But I couldn't bear the thought of spending my last years alone. So I let myself fall in love with you, knowing full well what it would mean." Love. She'd said it. The thing I'd been too afraid to name, too afraid to hope for. I opened my mouth to respond, but Lyra shook her head. "I know, Darius," she just whispered. "Dawn isn't far off," she said softly. "I can feel it. The pull of the ether. It's getting stronger." Lyra brushed her tears away and pushed me onto the ground. "Come on," she said, a hint of her old mischief in her eyes. "I want to stare at the moon with you one last time." "Lyra, I love you. I think I've loved you since the moment I met you." She turned to me and giggled. "Oh, Darian. I know, you fool." I pulled her close, my hand cupped her face. Her skin was growing warmer, it was almost hot to the touch. She was trembling, or maybe it was me. Our lips met as the moonlight fell upon her beautiful silver hair. The kiss was soft at first, tender, but quickly grew desperate. I could taste the salt of her tears, feel the heat of her skin. She clung to me as if I could anchor her to this world by sheer force of will. When I opened my eyes, she was gone. No dramatic flash, no final words. Just the lingering warmth of her lips upon mine and the scent of pine and starlight on the breeze.